Hey everybody, welcome to Tonka Talk. I'm Natalie Webster. We talk about all things community and connection. And many of you who follow Tonka Talk know exactly who's sitting next to me. It's Kelly Olson. Hello.
Hello, Nat.
We are going to jump into a very exciting topic today, something I've been dying to talk to Kelly about. You're going to hear a lot more about this topic in the future because we have a really good idea of what we want to add to Tonka Talk. Now, if you don't know Kelly, she's been in the real estate and land development game for over 2 decades. Most people around the Lake Minnetonka area know her for one of her recent projects, which was the guest house in Excelsior. It's when you and it was 9, right?
9 total, ladies. Yes, that was an adventure for sure.
All came together. In fact, that is when I first met you as I interviewed you about the guest house in Excelsior.
How long ago was that?
Almost 2 years, May.
Wow.
I want to say, or was it in May? No, it was right before. No, it was before it opened. February-ish. It was around that, a couple years ago. And the guest house is now a modern day vacation rental and event venue. And it was a bed and breakfast that was built in like 1858.
Same year Minnesota became a state.
That's true.
Mm-hmm.
And this woman here looks at this old building and goes, I think this would make a great vacation rental and event venue. There was also a reality show filmed around it called Miss Independent.
INN. Independent.
Which did really well. It was nominated for a regional Emmy. From there, I joined Kelly in her company, Olson Global. And we've been doing some fun things since then. She's wrapped up a big development out in Blaine. What most of you have probably heard of is the Shoreline Hotel, which is the project that's currently going on. And most recently, after doing all of this, we're like, hey, we should open our own real estate brokerage.
Yes.
We're both obsessed with real estate.
Yes.
With community. And we recently did that.
We're those people who leave work and go home and sit on the couch and just scroll through the internet looking to see what else is available on the market.
Housing and commercial listings is our porn.
Truly.
Like, what's for sale? Now, one thing I know, and it's funny talking to her and interviewing now, because the first time I interviewed you, I had never even met you.
Right. And in fact, Natalie, I don't even know if I ever told you this, but, that was like sort of pandemic-y time still. And, we were doing it remotely. So you're there and I'm here. And I was having technical difficulties on my computer. I couldn't see you the entire time. I had no idea. I had no idea what you looked like, what I looked like, what any of this was all happening. And then I feel like after we hung up from filming, you and I continued to talk for probably a half an hour after that, just to find out more about your real estate career, your background, all of that. And I was just really impressed immediately.
That's so funny. I did not know that. Oh, that is funny. So here we are now. We've opened this real estate company, which is going well. And here on Tonka Talk, we talk a lot, as you know, about community and connection. And I really want Kelly to share. I've been dying to pin her down. The woman's really busy, and talk about entrepreneur. I'm going to say that this is the one. This is a word I have a hard time with. Entrepreneurs, of course, but entrepreneurism.
Yes.
I can do it, but I can't say it.
Perfect. You're doing great.
Now, a lot of people, and since I've known you, one of my biggest takeaways and things I love most about you, and I've tried to adopt this point of view myself more. You see something before it's even fully there. And you'll look at a project, like, for example, the guest house. And it was it was an old building. It wasn't in great shape. And you saw the potential for it. And you needed to work with the city. There's all these things that needed to happen for this to come off. How do you approach a project like that without the, oh, it's too big, or I don't think I can do it, or, oh, it's too hard?
I would say in general, I don't like to frame something like, well, I can't do that because of X and Y and Z. I would say, how can I do that? So when I thought the it was called the Birdhouse Inn at the time. I thought the Birdhouse was just the most adorable little spot. And I love Excelsior, and right on Water Street. I saw a lot of opportunity there. It was, we were just on the tail end of our real, COVID shutdowns, right? So I felt this just strong. First of all, I love people, and I love to think about, what makes them tick and what they need to be happy. And I was looking at this place thinking, we've been separated from our loved ones, our friends and family for so long. I don't think at that time, there was a real appetite for people to go to a bed and breakfast and sit, around the breakfast table with strangers. I felt like they just wanted to come back together with their people and have a spot to put down, so you're not at your house and you're stepping over the laundry and all the other work that needs to be done there. Get away to a spot where we can all get away together. And there, I think, it's ideal in that you can have, 24 people can all stay there at the same time, and you can walk up and down Water Street. No one even has to get in the car. You've got all the little shops and the restaurants and everything. Lake Minnetonka, obviously. So that actually has turned out to be a really great spot for weddings. And in fact, we were just named as one of the top wedding Airbnb rentals is it Trip 101?
I think so.
Yes, Trip 101. So
that
cool.
is pretty amazing and early in the game too.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think drives you? As I've gotten to know you, and I've gotten to hear some of the family stories, and from a young age, it doesn't seem like it was, you grew up and then all of a sudden you could do these things. It's like you were always trying to bring people together and to create these spaces.
I remember I used to, I had one of those little play tables in my bedroom with 2 chairs. And I used to make my parents come up and have a date there. And I would make them sit at the table, and I'm feeding them like water in the little, teacup and all that. And here, have some cheese and crackers. And I mean, that just kept going. I always felt like I wanted a way to get people together to have these great experiences and just have a good time together.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm kind of a workaholic, so it's not like I don't like work. It's just I like the idea that the things that stay with people are those times where we are disconnected from the rest of the, literal, all the stuff you have to do. And you're just able to be in a space where you can be your authentic self and play. I mean, that's part of it. I just think, when people take themselves too seriously, that's a tough spot to be in, because it's really fun to just get out and do something dumb.
So true. Last winter, we were over at what's now the Shoreline, was the yacht club building. We were making snowmen.
That's in the parking lot.
In the middle of the workday.
Yeah.
One thing I think a lot of people might not know about is when you bought Hans Bakery. And again, this is a great example of this. You had, and you can share that story, kind of what you came out of and that you did this and what it became.
Yeah. So in February of 2008, I left Edina Realty after being there for 8 years, and I opened my own brokerage. And so February 2008, I had 6 agents who were working for me. And then in June of 2008, I lost my husband in a car accident with a drunk driver. Needless to say, that was a really, really rough time in life. But when I finally got my feet back under me, I went back out to look for an office. We didn't even have an office at the time. We were all just home officing. And I found this bakery that my mom used to take me to as a kid was on the market, and it was listed for $249 at the time. So I called my mom and I'm like, Mom, oh my gosh, Hans Bakery is for sale. Do you want to open a bakery with me? And she's like, I think my time for that's passed. So, okay. I keep looking for a building, and I watched this thing drop from $249 to $199 to $149 to $99,000 to $49,000, Natalie. And it was a 4,000 square foot building on a half-acre lot, all parking lot. It was right across the street from this school. And I'm like, I can't take it anymore. So I go over there and look at this building. And I'm not kidding you, there were dead birds in there. There was mold. Someone had come in and stolen all the copper. So all the plumbing, all the electrical, it was a disaster. So I end up writing an offer on it. I'm like, I'll give you $25,000 and I'll close in 2 weeks. And mind you, I'm broke and recently widowed. So this is probably not the most well thought out idea. It just felt like, you know what? I feel like at that point it was like, you know what? I've already lost everything. I've already kind of gone through the worst thing I could imagine happening. And then it's kind of like risk doesn't feel quite the same at that point. It's kind of like, what are you going to do to me now? You know?
Yeah.
So I, anyway, put in my offer. I hand it off to the bank and they say, you know what? We actually just got another offer and we're going to make our decision on Monday. So I call my late husband's dad and I say, hey, I can't get a hold of my inspector. Can you come out there and look at this place with me? We do over the weekend. And I go back to the bank on Monday morning and I tell them what my father-in-law said. I said, you know, my inspector says I should donate the building to the fire department for a controlled burn.
Oh, wow.
I will raise my offer to $30,000, but not a penny more. So they said, all right, we're going to meet with the committee and we'll get back to you this afternoon. They call and they said, you know, the other offer was for more than yours, but we think you know what you're getting into. So congratulations, you just bought yourself a bakery. And I hung up the phone and I just thought, boy, did I fool you. I don't have a clue what I'm doing. But then interestingly, I ended up taking a picture. I found a website, or I found a Facebook page of a bunch of people who were trying to save the bakery before it closed. And I took a picture of the key in my hand and I posted it on there. I had made another page that had 0 followers. And I said, hey, I just bought Han's Bakery. If you want to watch, you know, me try to get this thing back up and running again, you can follow me on my page over here. Well, within 24 hours, we had 5,000 followers on our page. It was a really wild, wild ride.
And then you opened the bakery and you were on an episode of a show that was on the Food Network.
Yes. So we, opening morning, so the episode had aired on the Food Network, and opening morning, it's February 22nd of 2014 would have been. It's below 0 that morning. There was a line wrapped around the building at 5:30 in the morning, and we weren't opening until 6:30. So my mom's out there, like, you know, giving people coffee so they won't freeze out there. When we opened the doors, everyone came flooding in. There was a line that wrapped 3 times around the dining room. And I just kept watching, you know, people come up to the counter and they'd order their stuff. And I'm like counting the number of donuts we have left in the case and the number of people left in the line. And I'm just getting more and more nervous. And finally, you know, the last person comes up, and every time we sell out or something, you know, my now husband is climbing the ladder and he's crossing the names of things off of the chalkboard there, and he crosses the last thing off and he writes sold out. And I thought people were going to be really mad. This is like 10:30 in the morning, and instead, everyone, they just clapped and they cheered, and I just cried. Oh, I'm going to cry now.
Don't, because you'll make me cry.
Okay.
A lot of crying goes on around here.
Yes. We embrace it.
We do. We do. And that's something that I really come to learn with you. I feel like with that story, there's a couple of lessons in there. One is you're not afraid to ask for help. If it's something that you don't know how to do, you'll figure it out. But at the same time, you're not afraid to say, hey, you know, if you want to come watch this, or what do you think about this? You'll ask for that help. And as a new business owner, that's something that has really been a building tool, I feel like, for you with that. I mean, you guys ended up selling, how many donuts did you sell?
We ended up doing $270,000 of sales of 99-cent donuts the first month we were open.
Wow.
Yeah,
that
is wild.
crazy.
When you think about just the sheer volume of dough, it's a lot of dough.
Yeah, that is a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have all these people that you're managing as well, which is a different kind of atmosphere in a bakery from, real estate where agents are a little more independent in what they're doing.
Yes, definitely.
It's not a set time and all that. These are employees and their schedules and everything that goes with that. And you ended up eventually selling it.
Yes, I did. One thing you will find about me is I don't have really great boundaries. So like the employees, I felt like they were all like my children. I was teaching people to drive and trying to help them find housing and everything else. I loved every minute of it, but it was also, I learned a lot about myself in those days.
Do you feel that through that experience, you took some of that? Did it help you a bit more with boundaries?
Oh, like I said before, I just really like people and I like to think about what they want and what they need. And if there's any way that I can help them get what they're looking for or what they need, I would like to do that. And then I think it's just a matter of like knowing how far you can stretch yourself and how far you can, I love to be helpful. Yeah. I keep getting target marketed for this sweatshirt on social media that says, not bossy, just aggressively helpful.
Yes, that's totally true. She doesn't even like it if we never introduce you as our boss.
Yeah.
Team goes and does something.
No.
She backhand.
Right.
or just hide. Like, no. It's really interesting to go through something like that and really throw yourself into it. And if that was just the one thing that happened and you still had the bakery and that's what we were talking about, that in and of itself, I think is an amazing story with a lot to learn from that, especially for people who want to start a business, who want to get something going. But it didn't stop there. It's just you've gone on to do multiple projects in different areas.
Well, I think, Natalie, kind of back to the point you were talking about, being willing to ask for help.
Yeah.
I feel like I am always outside of, I don't want to say outside of my comfort zone because I feel pretty comfortable out there in the unknown. But I'm always doing something for the first time. It feels like I am always doing something for the first time. So I think in general, I have noticed that there are people who like to assert that they already have all of the answers. Like, I am the expert, I have all of the answers, and I'm going forward to do this thing. But I don't think that approach gives you much room to ask for help when you do feel like you're in the unknown. So at least for me, a lot of these projects start with me being very vulnerable and saying to someone else who I believe knows more about this topic than I do, and I'm not afraid to say that. And I say, you know what? I'm doing this for the first time. Can you help me? And 99% of the time, people are overwhelmingly helpful in those scenarios because they know that you value what they bring to the table. It's not this like, I already know, and I'm going to try and get you to fit into what I'm trying to do here. It's like, hey, I value what you know, and I would love for you to like teach me, help me. Because really, I kind of think of myself as being more of a quarterback. I like to come up with a really great idea and then like to assemble a group of, okay, who's really good at this and who's really good at that? And how can we put this team together? Which is part of the reason why I don't like to say Natalie works for me. I say we work together. Like, I work with Natalie. Clearly, you have a lot of skills and a lot of talents that I do not. Thank you.
Well, thank you.
Yes.
All of that, when we talk about like those lessons to learn from there, not being afraid to ask for help, a willingness to be vulnerable. We saw that when I was working with you already on the early days, if on the Shoreline project, we probably won't get into too much talking about that just yet because there's a lot of great things going on that we can't spill the beans on just yet. But when you're up against, and most people know, like, we went through a whole approval process with the city of Spring Park, and there was so much to learn there. And it wasn't the easiest thing, I wouldn't say. But you're right. We came together as a team, and then more people joined the team. We worked great with the city and have had great support and an amazing amount of public support. And that kind of goes back to with Hans. When you built up that community, you ended up with, I think you had like 22,000 Facebook followers.
26,000. Yeah.
26,000.
Don't forget those 4,000 people.
That's right. 26,000 over baked goods. So it's not just about the product or the thing itself. It's not just about the donuts. People don't come together like that just because of donuts.
I think, really, I use that as an opportunity, a platform to, probably the best example of community that I had out of the bakery was my husband and I had a house down on Marco Island in Florida, and Hurricane Irma was on the way, and my husband flew down there to try to board up the house before the hurricane would actually hit. And when he went there, almost all of the plywood was already sold out. So he's, going around to all these different places trying to scrounge enough stuff to board up the windows. And the closer the hurricane kept coming, the more I was like, just get out of there. Just get out of there. You just have to get home. I don't care. I don't care if the house is boarded up. You just have to get home. And it was, again, this reality of, oh gosh, there's so many things that are more important than just, the sticks that built that house. Really, it's about the people. So as the hurricane approached, we went to our following on the bakery page and we said, hey, we're going to gather up supplies here and we're going to drive them down to Florida ourselves. So my parents had a motorhome and they had a big enclosed trailer. We had them drop off the trailer, and I didn't have a really clear plan here, but I was like, yep, my parents are going to bring the trailer. They're going to have it in the parking lot, and you guys just bring supplies and we'll fill up this trailer and drive them down there and give them to people. So as I start doing this, I start getting feedback from people who live in other parts of the country where maybe a major catastrophe has happened. And they said, one of the things they talk about is the disaster after the disaster, which is, if you're in Texas and it's the middle of summer, people in colder climates might be sending like winter coats, or things like that where you really you can't use this right now. So we decided, all right, we do want to be helpful, but we don't want to add to that sense of chaos and bring a bunch of things that people don't need. So we sorted everything and we made little care packages and things that we didn't think would fit the bill. We donated them back to other local charities. And then we had these, kids came and made signs for us that said, Hurricane Irma donations accepted here and that kind of thing. So we headed out on our drive down to Florida, and this semi-truck driver starts honking and he's waving at us and he's telling us to pull over. And we're like, oh, okay, there must be something wrong with the motorhome. So we pull over and I get out on the, we're on the freeway, and I get out in the ditch side, and this guy gets out and he comes walking over and he's waving a $20 bill at me because these things are still, the signs are for kid-made signs are still attached to the trailer that we're accepting Hurricane Irma donations, and he pulls us over so he can give us $20. So little things like that just kept happening. I had a little boy who brought in his actual quarters in a Ziploc bag that he had been saving, and he brought that. So when we were on this trip, when we went to buy supplies for people, I literally counted quarters out, so I could send the video to his parents of, okay, here, you guys just paid for all of this. But we got down there and we got to this community where it had been completely just leveled, and all the people were living temporarily in the school gym, and we pulled up and we just opened the doors and we were like, oh, form a line and we'll, give you things. And we didn't realize how sort of chaotic that could be, that it would be this just crush of people. And thank you to the universe. This angel of a woman shows up out of nowhere, and she's like, you know what? I'll help you. I'll help you make this into this neat, orderly line, which is exactly what happened. People are waiting in line. They're getting things. My mom puts out this table, and she starts making pancakes in the motorhome. So she's making pancakes and I'm pouring, juice for people in the line. And a woman reached out and she said, I had that container of cranberry juice in my pantry and I don't know for how long it was in there. And she's like, I saw you, you post the thing on Facebook and I, came over and I dropped that off and some other things. And like 3 days later, I watched you pour a cup of cranberry juice for a little boy standing in the line who, had lost his home in this hurricane. And it just really touched her. It touched me too. The idea that sometimes you give your money to a charity and it's just kind of this nameless, faceless thing and you have no idea what happened with it. And I think we just did a really good job of showing people how well connected we really are. Like you had this over here on Monday and on Thursday, someone else had it over here and it really meant the world to them. So, that community, that connection, the fact that we just use the bakery as a tool to do cool things.
I think that is the key thing in recognizing that I think there's so many things that can get in the way, especially for business owners and people trying to start something new. I don't think that when they're really successful, that it's the money is the driving piece. It's when that passion is there, when that desire, where that purpose is there to create something and to bring other people into it, which is really creating community, that it can't help but succeed. And it's been a theme in each of the projects that you've done. And that's why we want to, on Tonka Talk, we talk about community and connection. And we're going to do a regular segment where I'm going to do this with Kelly. And we want you to reach out. You can email me at natalie@tonkatalk.com and let us know, what do you want to get going? This is your opportunity to we're going to hold her hostage in the studio once a week and give her what your questions are, whether they're questions about what she's done in the past with real estate or starting a new business. But maybe you have an idea. What is an idea of something that you want to do or you want to get going, where you can maybe even use some help in getting that going in the community? Because one thing we have done is we've created a community we're doing it with Shortlist Properties, which is our real estate company, through Tonka Talk with the Shoreline Hotel. It's all about bringing people together. So we thought, hey, why don't we reach out, do a weekly episode on Tonka Talk where people are invited to bring your ideas, go ahead and email us, ask your questions, and we'll kind of do like a mini, I don't know what you'd call it. Yeah. I always say like you should be on Shark Tank. Yeah, brainstorming for sure.
We always say we don't edit during a brainstorm. So frequently, we get out the whiteboard and we're thinking about a topic and we just, okay, give me all of your ideas. And as soon as we get to like, okay, now there's not many more coming around, then we say, okay, now give me all the worst ideas. And then pretty soon everybody's back to brainstorming. And now you have everything.
Yeah.
We have thought of everything. And then you can go through and then take off the brainstorming hat, then put on your editing hat. Because if you're editing while you're brainstorming, you are definitely not getting all of the best ideas. And in fact, sometimes when you say, okay, what are the worst ideas? Somebody throws something out there and you're like, oh, actually, there's something to that. Maybe we need to think about this one. We pretty much always have like a notebook full of, these are the ideas we're working on. These are all of the ideas we can't wait to work on. And these ones are down here a little bit lower than that. And there's never a dull moment. It's just like, as soon as we get through this one, or maybe not even all the way through this one, we're going to tee up the next one and the next one. Yeah,
exactly. So we invite you to reach out. Again, natalie@tonkatalk.com. You can comment if you're watching this somewhere you're connecting on social media. However you do that. And if we don't have an answer for you, maybe there's somebody through this community that we're creating that we can connect you with who does.
Yes. So being a connector and a good connector in the community, I think, is also a really great spot to be, because so many people that inevitably, if somebody's saying, hey, I really am looking for this or that, chances are we know somebody who can help.
Exactly. reach out again, Natalie@tonkatalk.com. We want to hear, what do you need help with? What are your ideas? You get to pick the brain here of Kelly Olson. We'll bounce things around. There's some really fun things coming up in the community that I'd love to talk about as well, that I think are going to be really great businesses and ways of creating community. Just how are you doing it? Let's talk about it. This week, I'll just mention this quick. This weekend at our real estate office, we're doing a thing. It's been a crazy year, so we're bringing in an emotional support donkey.
I cannot wait to see this animal. Seriously, I cannot wait.
Yes, and I think it's an example, again, of one of those things where sometimes it's, things are so much serious. You got to get things done. But at some point, and I think that's kind of where we're good at that, is we do something so ridiculous that it kind of just breaks the monotony.
Yeah.
Helps the creative process. And again, is another way to bring people together, because we've invited the community to come out.
Yes.
And meet this emotional support donkey.
What is the donkey's name?
Tiptoe.
Oh my gosh, I love it.
And it's called Tiptoe because I think his mother accidentally trampled him.
No.
I'm pretty sure it was accidentally.
No.
Yeah. So donkey's going to...
Maybe the donkey needs a little support too. Maybe that's why the donkey is so affectionate.
Yeah, this is an unusual situation in that this animal, his caretakers have said, is unusually attached to humans.
Oh.
Loves to cuddle, give hugs, just gives so much love. And I've seen photos and videos of this donkey in nursing homes and other places.
Natalie, I was just talking to somebody who is looking for a house who was saying, that's something that's just so important. They didn't realize just how, until they were in a situation where they were being like overwhelmed with hugs and affection, just how much they missed that in their life. So it's really interesting.
Yeah, I've read studies that have talked about a lack of connection and community when you don't have that in your life, that it can be as dangerous to your health as starting smoking.
Yeah, that's sad.
Yeah, so we're going to make sure we get a lot of that love with the emotional support donkey.
Perfect. Can't wait.
So thank you.
You're welcome.
Again, check us out on Mondays when Kelly joins for Tonka Talk. In the meantime, have a great day, and I'll talk to you later.
Bye.